So I'll just start and let you know I'm not going to go long today. I promise. I may just get to the point within about 1,000 words, but for the little ones, trust me on this one. And I just kind of want to set the context because, first of all, there will be a test, and you have to pass it to get out of here. So I just want to set the context for a little bit, so may be able to help us receive and understand the lesson or the message for the morning. The Apostle Paul is the one credited for writing this letter, or it's also called an epistle. It's written around 64, which is 30 years after Jesus' resurrection. And Paul is in prison, and he's in Rome when he writes this. Now, the word Ephesians means desirable. So, and we all know what it is to live in a desirable place. Same thing was true for the city of Ephesus. It was a desirable place to live in the ancient world. And I'm guessing it would have made some best top 10 lists of places to live in the world. You'll see where it is on the map. The Aegean Sea and the mouth of the Cayster River. It was considered one of the greatest seaports of the time. So Paul did 3 missionary trips, and so we're on his second trip around 52. He lands in Ephesus, where he starts a church. And then he returns on his third trip a couple years later, and he spends 2 to 3 years in the city of Ephesus teaching and preaching. And he developed many meaningful relationships there. And lots of good news of God's love spread out from there. So, about a decade later, he writes this letter to his friends. And in reading it, we know that they had done well. They were devout in their faith. They were well organized. They were busy in the gospel. They had been growing and expanding. Nationalities had come together. There was several ethnic groups and nationalities had come together. And despite all their differences, all the reasons not to be a body, they formed themselves into one body. Diverse with a variety of social, economic makeup. They had done well. They formed themselves well. So this letter is real personal. So, if you're ever going to read it as a personal letter to friends, teammates, old high school classmates, your neighbors. It's deeply relational and written out of friendship. So our text for this morning is very meaningful and is appropriate as we have participated in Walker's baptism. And Karen's already indicated that being rooted and grounded in love is the phrase I want us to look at. Because if nothing else, I want you to hear that Walker's going to learn how much he's loved by the way that we love him and each other. We learn to love one another by the way that we love each other. And so, this phrase, being rooted and grounded in love, is really our message for the day. Now, I'm also not going to lecture this group of people on anything agricultural. It took me 20 plus years to realize that there is a difference between dirt and soil. Being rooted is the anchoring of the plant that allows for absorbing nutrients and moisture. Plants simply can't survive without being rooted. And without a root system, plants can't be productive. So roots are foundational. So here's the part of the plants. And so just remember, there's a test. Everybody got it, or we need to leave it up for a while longer? When our roots receive the nutrients, anything is possible. Paul says we are able to accomplish abundantly more than we could ever ask for or imagine, but only if we are rooted in love. And I suggest, believe that we are rooted in love. What's all around us is all within us. Rooted is agricultural. Now, the metaphor shifts to from agricultural to architectural. Grounded is a building term. The word for grounded means foundation. So a house is established on will depend on how strong the house will be. If you don't dig deep and build a strong foundation, your structure won't be strong enough. Paul says, be grounded on love, surround yourself with people who love you, and receive God's love. Build your life on that foundation. All right, so perhaps it's a bit stretching, but in an academic journal called the Journal of Happiness Studies, they publish articles to identify what makes human life flourish. And when the researchers looked at what distinguishes quite happy people from less happy people, one factor consistently separated the two groups. And it was not how much money you have, it's not how healthy you are, or how secure you are, or how attractive you are, or your IQ, or your career. According to the research, what distinguishes consistently happy people from less happy people is the presence of deep, meaningful relationships. It's being surrounded by love. Putnam, the social researcher, puts it this way: the single most common finding from a half a century research on life satisfaction, not only here in the United States but throughout the world, is that happiness is best predicted by the breadth and depth of your relationship. And Paul says it this way: the best prediction of your happiness is being rooted and grounded in love. It's when you know that you matter to others. And when you're loved, life's a whole lot better. So I also know that stuff happens in life. Stuff happens in relationships and families. And being rooted and grounded in love doesn't make that bad stuff go away, doesn't take the difficulties or the problems away. Just because you're rooted and grounded in love doesn't take the harm and the hurt away. But what I'll say to you is, being rooted and grounded in love gives you the strong foundation to deal with whatever you're facing. And that makes all the difference. When you have love as a foundation, then you are better equipped to address whatever is going on in your life. And throughout my adventure, when I have faced disturbance or difficulty, rejection, and failure, whenever I had to make a decision that I realized would change the trajectory of my life, when I did and still do dumb things or damage a relationship, in the back of my head, or maybe out of my subconscious, or maybe deep within my heart, somewhere and somehow I always realize that I am rooted and grounded in love. And because of that, I can make the best possible choice, and I can respond the best way I can. I realized then, and I realize that right now today, that I have that assurance. I am rooted and grounded in God's love. Take that home with you.